welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. I'm Shelby. It's very nice to make your acquaintance. Today I have something very exciting that arrived in the mail. So I watch a lot of Kathleen Light's videos and I follow BoxyCharm. And if you follow both of those things, people, companies, you will know about Alamar Cosmetics. Alamar is by, I want to say, a girl who works at BoxyCharm. She started her own like Miami inspired makeup line, and this is the first edition of her palette. So I purchased this. I thought it was super pretty. It's definitely like the color scheme that I really love. I also purchased a set of her brushes. This is the Ojitos, which is I think eyes in Spanish, the Ojitos number 2, and so it comes with these brushes. She has a number 1 that went along with this palette, but those brushes just didn't really inspire me. I typically like to use brushes that look similar to this. She also has another palette and she's been slowly coming out with more and more palettes, so I'm very excited to try out this new brand. I've never tried anything before from Alamar Cosmetics. So if you guys would like to see my review and demo on the Alamar Cosmetics Volume 1 palette, the Reina del Caribe, I don't know how to say anything, then just go ahead and keep on watching. Okay, so obviously I've put my hair in a little clip so it is out of the way, and I already have some eye makeup on, so I'm going to be removing that with the L'Oreal Eau de Lait water milk cleanser. This is like a micellar water. I'm almost out. I really love using this in the morning when I don't want to strip my skin and wash my face. I like washing my face maybe once or twice a day after the gym and kind of at the end of the day, but I like doing something like this in the morning. It's very gentle, it's very hydrating, so if you have dry skin and sensitive skin like me, then you will really like this. Okay, so I have removed all my eye makeup. I did put on a little bit of this Born This Way concealer. I'm also going to be using this to prime my lids, so I'm just doing a little dot, and then I'm just going to be blending that out with my beauty blender. So this is the packaging that the eyeshadow palette comes in. It looks like this. It's really nice and pretty. There is a whole list of ingredients for all of the eyeshadows on the back. It says best used wet or best used dry. So great. It has these little symbols that says best used wet, best used dry. So I don't know if inside this palette it's going to have those little symbols next to the shadow. They're not here on the back where the ingredients are listed, and so that's interesting. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It's very cute. The first version does not have a mirror on this side, but the second version it does have a mirror on the inside. Just FYI, in case you were like, oh, I have to have a palette with a mirror, they do have a second palette. It's not this color layout, obviously it's a different one, but if like you must have a palette with a mirror, go for that one. I'm going to be going in with one of her 3 brushes. Look at that, my brushes already have cat hair on them. Story of my life. So she has one that is really fluffy, just like your typical blender brush. Now this one in the pictures I thought would be a little bit flatter, kind of like a flat shader brush, but it really just kind of looks similar to a blending brush, but this one has a round ferrule, and so it's going to be more fluffy and just kind of that round sort of shape that is tapered out just a little bit, whereas this one has more of that crimped sort of an oval ferrule. So it's going to be a little bit more precise, more of like a precise crease brush. So this one would be good when you're first doing your transition color, but when you want to get in more deeper shades, this one would work well. This one is like a thicker pencil brush, so this one would be good for really smoking out that lower lash line. I really like these types of brushes. Okay, so first I'm going to use this little shader brush, the one with a round ferrule. I'm going to go into Cocoa Taxi. Now normally I like to have a sort of matte cream shade to set my primer, but we don't have that today, so I'm working with what I do have and going in with Cocoa Taxi. Oh yeah, and they do have the little sun and the little droplet that tells you that it's better used wet or better used dry. So it looks like all of the mattes are better used when they're dry and these shimmers look better when they're wet. So already I am getting a lot of good color payoff. It's blending out super nicely, and this brush is so soft. When I'm touching in the palette, I'm not really getting a ton of fallout. It's not like a Anastasia Beverly Hills palette where you tend to get a lot of kick up, which I don't mind personally. Wow, the shadow is actually really, really nice. I really like that. I really like it. I think it looks darker than it does on the eye. I feel like this is a great transition color, and I would love to have this like all over the lid and just kind of smoke it into the crease a little bit for an everyday, very wearable shade that's a little bit different, and especially on blue eyes, what I have. I think sort of this mustardy color looks really pretty on blue eyes. Okay, so I'm actually super impressed with this shade. I'm not getting any sort of patchiness. If you are seeing any sort of patchiness, this camera is HD and literally picks up everything. It's kind of annoying, but in person, I see no patchiness. If anything, it could be catching on those drier areas of my eyes that I've mentioned before in past videos where shadows like to sort of hold on to. And then there are areas where shadows just refuse to be placed on my eye. Next, I'm going to go into this Tropico color. This is an orange shade, and what I'm essentially going to be doing is just deepening up the crease. Now this shade I feel like is a little bit, I'm having a little bit more kick up in the palette than the yellow shade, but it is more pigmented, I will say that. It is coming off on the eye what it looks like in the palette, so that could be the reasoning for that shade. Typically more pigmented shades can sometimes have more kick up. That's why Subculture was a mess. Okay, so far I'm really liking this. Next, I'm going to go into this Guantanamera. It's a red shade. Again, I'm going to take this one, but I'm just going to hold it on its side. So I'm going to be keeping that shade a little bit lower. I'm not going to pick up as much on the brush. I'm just going to pick up a little bit. It looks like a lot of it. I'm going to tap this off and keeping it low, running this through the crease. Typically red shades are kind of hard to make. They're not as typically blendable as others. Same goes with like purple shades, like really dark ones. They're just kind of hard to make, especially when you're trying to make like a vegan palette. A lot of that red color comes from beetles, and so if you're trying to make a vegan palette, a cruelty-free palette, you don't want to use those. It gets a little tricky. I feel like I'm getting a lot of pigment on the inner and the outer, but kind of when I blend it through the middle, it's almost not wanting to stick on this side. So I'm going to kind of try and pat this a little bit, use more of a patting motion. So instead of blending all that color, we're kind of placing it where we want it, and just barely wiggle with the brush to blend it out. Okay, so this is what we have so far. I'm actually going to go back in with this little blender brush. I'm going back into that Cocoa Taxi yellowy shade, and I'm just going to run it above everything, just to kind of almost blend all those colors together and blend the outer edge so that yellow color is still there and apparent, kind of almost making like a sunset on my eyes. I have like the red, the orange, and then the yellow. I think it's really pretty. So everything is currently blended. I really want to go into one of these blue shades. I think what I want to do is go with Celia. I want to go into that and put it all over the eye. Possibly. I may pop the inner corner with La Costa to kind of give it this halo eye effect and really bring brightness to the eye. So we'll see how this goes. So this color says that it works better wet, but I want to see what it can do dry. So on one eye, I'm going to be doing it dry. The other one, I will be doing it wet. So I'm going to go in with this Celia shade, this greeny blue shade. Wow, it's really pretty. So picking up some on my brush, it picks up pretty nicely. I did have to get my brush in there just a little bit, but that's okay for a metallic shade. I don't want it to be flaking off everywhere. And I'm going to just start pressing this on the eye. Oh, it actually works really well. Dry. Oh my gosh, that color is stunning. I really like how this looks. That blue color is amazing, but I do think I'm going to pop that corner, not the corner, I'm gonna pop the center with La Costa. This isn't too of a high shine. It doesn't look like, it kind of just looks like a nice little, almost like a brow bone shade. I'm going to flip this on its other side and just pick that up. And I'm going to place this. Oh yes. Oh, that's so pretty. This is like the shape that it gives. It really kind of makes a spotlight with that shade and really makes the eye look nice and round, which is what I was going for. I really like that. I think it's really pretty. And now I'm going to go grab some Fix Plus and then we'll do the other eye wet. Okay, I am back with my Fix Plus. So now I'm just going to be taking my brush and I'm going to wet both sides. Kind of dry it off. We don't want it to be soaking. Now I'm going to go back on this blue teal-y shade, going back into this teal color, Celia, wet. Ooh, it picks up and it already looks way more metallic on the brush. And, oh, I got Fix Plus all over my mirror. Going to place this. Ooh. Ooh, it definitely gives it a more metallic finish than it did when it was dry. Oh wow, this shade is like so much more intense. Look at it here and look at it. I think I may go in and kind of fix up this side. Wow, 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 wow. Wow. And I'm going to flip it on the other side, going back into that La Costa shade. And again, this one's picking up very metallic-y on the brush. I'm going to pop that in the center. Look at the difference. Look how intense this is versus this one. Like, this one is pretty, but this one is like, oh, hi, how are ya? So now I really want to use all the shades in this palette, but I don't know if it can be done. I think I want to smoke out the lower lash line with this Varadero, this really dark navy shade. It is a metallic, but I really want to try this. So taking this wet brush that we used before, I'm just going to use the same one. I'm going to dip just the tiniest tip into the Varadero shade, and it says it works better wet, so I'm going to try that. I'm going to start smoking this along my lower lash line. That is intense. Okay, so I have finished smoking out the lower lash line. I feel like I look kind of crazy, kind of sad. A lot of darkness is on this bottom lash line. So I'm going to go into this Cafecito shade, which is a brown. I'm going to be taking this on sort of like a eyeliner brush like this, and I'm going to kind of line my eyes like it is an eyeliner, and I just want to see how dark this is. Oh gosh, we have some. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. So this shade is not too dark. It's almost like a warm brown shade, like it could be put through the crease, so I don't think it necessarily works the best as like an eyeliner. Normally if I'm going to be doing a shade on the upper lash line that's a powder, I like to use like a black or something with a little bit more intensity, but for now I think it is definitely helping this whole look. Yeah, this is what I have so far. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to tight line my waterline. A lot of the times This sort of helps me see what the eye look is going to look like. I really, really love to tightline. I honestly think it 100% makes a difference and just gives it that really darkness towards the lash line, which is what I am wanting. Then I'm going to put on a couple coats of mascara. I'm going to assess everything, see if I need falsies. Okay guys, so this is what the eye makeup looks like currently. I really like it, but I think it does need some brightness in the inner corner. So I said I was going to try to use every single shade in the palette. We have used them all except for this El Malecon, this gold shade, and I really want to pop that in the inner corner. I also realized that I have not used, where are you, the last of the brushes, and I don't know why I didn't use this to smoke out the lower lash line. Regardless, we're going to use it now. So going in to this El Malecon shade, it says it works better wet. But again, I'm just going to pop this in the inner corner. I really want to build this up. I don't want anything too like metallic or intense for the inner corner. So I'm going to use it dry. And I'm going to, oh my gosh, the shade. Look at that shade. I think I need to pop a little bit of blush. A lot of times when I have a lot of color on the eyes, it kind of takes color away from my face. So I'm going to be using NARS Luster blush. It's like a nice peachy shade, which is really going to complement those peachy shades, those warm shades that we put through the crease. It also kind of has like gold reflex in it, which I think will really bring out the gold. I am super impressed with Alamar Cosmetics. I loved the blendability of the shades, the metallic shades whenever you wet your brush. Oh my gosh, this blue shade is stunning. The only one that was maybe a little tiny patchy is this red shade, but again, I like it just as well as any of the red shades that I have in like the Modern Renaissance palette. I think it did an amazing job, and for 28 bucks for 8 shadows, I think is absolutely worth it. I think this palette is totally worth it. Also for the brushes, they were extremely soft. They did a great job. And they are, for a set of 3, it is $18. And you may think, oh, that's kind of expensive, but it's actually super on par with like Morphe brushes. That's very cheap to get 3 eyeshadow brushes for 18 bucks. And it reminded me of the brushes that I love so much, the It Cosmetics brushes that are sold at Ulta, the ones with like the silver. These are the softest, nicest synthetic brushes that I have ever found in my life. This one in particular brush is $14, and I've always been like, oh my gosh, I would buy a million of them. This one reminds me a lot of this one, and this one you get in a pack with 2 other brushes. They're very, very soft, and they're very, very similar. I would say that this one has a little bit more packed bristles versus this one, but I am super impressed with these brushes, and they're pink and they're cute, and the volume 1 ones are green, and so, you know, I think they're just very fun shades. I think this company is awesome, and they are still very new, so they are coming out with more products, and I'm going to be on that train looking out for their products, buying their new releases, because I'm very impressed with what I have seen today. So if you guys did like this video and you do like my makeup videos, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. You can hit that subscribe button down below to become a part of my small but growing family, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!